because familiarity without boundaries often leads to disregard. When people know you'll always be there, they stop feeling grateful for your presence. They begin to treat your time as if it belongs to them, your energy as if it exists solely for their benefit, your attention as if it's their birthright. The person who never creates space between themselves and others becomes like furniture in a familiar room, useful when needed but invisible most of the time. Their contributions blend into the background noise of daily life instead of standing out as gifts worth celebrating. When you remove yourself at times, you create space for others to remember and value your presence. Absence doesn't just make the heart grow fonder, it makes the mind recognize worth that was previously overlooked. People begin to notice what they had when it's no longer guaranteed to them. How do you apply this wisdom without becoming cold or distant? By choosing carefully when to step in and when to step back. Learn to distinguish between genuine emergencies and simple conveniences. Show up for moments that truly matter while letting others handle situations they can manage alone. I met a craftsman once who worked tirelessly for everyone in his village, fixing their tools and mending their homes with skilled hands. His neighbors relied on him so completely that they began to take his expertise for granted. They would arrive at his workshop, expecting immediate service, interrupt his meals with urgent requests, and assume his time belonged to them. One season, tired of being treated as a convenience rather than a craftsman, he chose to only serve those who respected his time and appreciated his skill. He stopped jumping at every call and started requiring advance notice for his services. Slowly, his absence from their daily demands made people realize his true worth. They began to appreciate the quality of his work, the generosity of his previous availability, and the skill that had always been there but went unnoticed. His respect doubled, not because he was always there, but because he wasn't. 5. Energy wasted is opportunity lost. The myth says energy is endless. You can give to everyone, do everything, and still have something left for yourself. People believe they can pour themselves into countless tasks, endless favors, and every request that comes their way without ever running dry. They think energy works like magic, somehow multiplying the more they use it, growing stronger through constant giving. But the truth is far different and more serious. Energy is like water from a well. If you draw too much for others, you'll find it dry when you're thirsty. What is energy in this deeper sense? It's not just the strength in your muscles or the alertness in your mind after a good night's rest. Energy encompasses your focus, your creative spark, your ability to think clearly and feel deeply. It's the life force that drives your dreams forward, the inner fire that lights up your best ideas, and the stamina that carries you through meaningful work. Think of energy as the most precious currency you possess. Unlike money, you cannot earn more through extra effort. Unlike time, you cannot save it up for later use. Energy flows through your days like a river. What you spend on shallow channels never reaches the deeper valleys, where your important dreams wait to be watered. Why must you guard this energy like a treasure? Because every wasted drop represents an opportunity lost forever, an unwritten book that could have changed lives, an unbuilt skill that could have opened doors, an unlived dream that could have brought joy to your heart. When you scatter your energy carelessly, you rob your future self of the power needed to create something meaningful. The person who gives their energy to everyone becomes like a lamp with too many wicks burning at once. Soon the oil runs low, the flames grow weak, and darkness creeps in where there should be light. They end up exhausted, empty, and unable to illuminate even their own path. How do you protect this vital force? By choosing carefully where your energy flows, like a wise gardener who directs water only to plants that will bear fruit. Refuse to spend precious energy on activities that don't serve your growth, relationships that drain without giving back, or projects that lead nowhere important. Learn to recognize energy thieves, those people in situations that take far more than they give. Some conversations leave you feeling lighter and inspired, others leave you feeling heavy and drained. Pay attention to these feelings and choose accordingly. I once knew a farmer who worked from sunrise to sunset on his neighbor's land. His strong back and skilled hands were always available to anyone who asked for help. The village admired him for his generous spirit, but year after year his own crops suffered from neglect. His fields produced weak harvests, while the neighbors he helped enjoyed abundant yields. Only when he chose to direct the majority of his energy back into his own soil did things change. He learned to help others only after tending his own land first. The results spoke clearly. His farm finally began to flourish, producing crops that fed his family and provided surplus to share. His example teaches a simple but powerful lesson. Wasted energy feeds others but starves you. 6. The trap of pleasing everyone. Many people believe pleasing everyone is the path to harmony, that if you just keep everyone happy, life will be peaceful and filled with love. They imagine themselves as peacemakers who can smooth every rough edge, satisfy every demand, and earn universal approval through endless accommodation. They think that saying yes to all requests will build an unshakable foundation of goodwill that protects them from conflict forever. But here's the truth that cuts through this beautiful dream. When you try to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, especially yourself. This pursuit becomes like chasing shadows that dance just out of reach, always moving farther away the closer you think you're getting. What is people-pleasing in its truest form? It's the exhausting habit of sacrificing your own needs, desires, and values to win approval from others. It's the constant bending of your spine until you forget how to stand straight, the endless swallowing of your own voice until you forget what you truly believe, the relentless putting of others first until you disappear from your own life. The people pleaser becomes like water, taking the shape of whatever container holds them. They lose their own form, their own boundaries, their own distinct flavor that makes them unique and valuable. Why is this pattern so harmful to the very relationships it aims to strengthen? Because approval is never permanent. The same people who cheer your generosity today will complain about your limits tomorrow. Human nature craves novelty and easily forgets yesterday's kindness when today brings new wants and expectations. You'll find yourself running in endless circles, exhausted and dizzy, chasing a reward that never lasts long enough to satisfy. Each act of pleasing creates expectations for the next, building a prison of other people's demands around your life. People begin to see you not as a person with your own needs and dreams, but as a service provider whose job is to meet their comfort. They stop appreciating your sacrifices because they've come to expect them as natural as sunrise. How do you escape this trap that catches so many good hearts? By realizing that lasting respect comes not from constant agreement, but from authenticity, from being genuinely yourself, even when it disappoints some people. Others trust and value those who have clear principles more than those who bend with every wind. Authenticity means showing up as your real self, complete with opinions that might differ from others, boundaries that protect your well-being, and the courage to disappoint people when staying true to yourself requires it. I knew a young man who said yes to every request in his community, believing it would earn him the love and acceptance he desperately wanted. He helped with every project, attended every gathering, and agreed with every opinion, thinking this would make him indispensable to others. But over time, people grew careless with his kindness, demanding more while valuing him less. They treated his time as if it belonged to them, and his energy as if it existed solely for their benefit. When he finally learned to say no, when he stood firm on issues that mattered to him, something unexpected happened. He lost a few shallow admirers who only valued him for his services, but he gained something far more precious, true respect from people who appreciated his honesty and strength. 7. Growth demands sacred solitude. The myth says solitude is loneliness, that being alone means being forgotten or unloved by the world. People fear empty rooms and quiet hours, imagining that isolation signals failure in the great game of human connection. They think that someone who chooses to be alone must be sad, rejected, or unable to maintain relationships. Society whispers that constant companionship proves worth, while solitude suggests something is wrong. But the truth cuts through this misunderstanding like light through darkness. Solitude is the fertile soil where personal growth takes root and flourishes. Far from being a sign of rejection, chosen solitude becomes the greenhouse where your deepest self can grow without the weight of other people's expectations pressing down on tender shoots of new understanding. What is true solitude? It's not the loneliness that comes from being abandoned or pushed away by others. Real solitude is deliberate time spent with yourself, precious hours set aside for thinking without interruption, dreaming without judgment, and strengthening without performing for an audience. It's the conscious choice to step away from the noise and demands of daily life to tend the garden of your inner world. Think of solitude as a conversation with the person you know least but need to understand most, yourself. In the company of others, you often become what they expect you to be, wearing masks that fit their comfort rather than your truth. But in solitude, these masks can fall away, leaving you face to face with your authentic thoughts, feelings, and desires. Why is this practice so important that wise people throughout history have sought it like treasure? Because in solitude, you meet the most important person you'll ever know, yourself. This meeting cannot happen in crowded rooms or busy schedules where your attention scatters like seeds in the wind. Without regular solitude, you cannot hear your own heart speaking above the chorus of other voices telling you who to be and what to want. You become like a radio, picking up dozens of stations at once, all noise, no clear signal. Your true path remains hidden beneath layers of other people's advice, expectations, and opinions. In solitude, you discover what actually matters to you rather than what you think should matter. You uncover dreams that belong to you alone, not dreams borrowed from others. You find strength you didn't know existed, and clarity that cuts through confusion like a sword through fog. How do you practice this life-changing habit? By creating sacred moments where you are deliberately unavailable to others, not out of coldness or rejection, but out of deep care for your own journey and growth. This might mean rising before dawn to sit quietly with your thoughts, taking long walks without companions, or setting aside evening hours for reflection. Start small, but be consistent. Guard these moments like a shepherd guards sheep, protecting them from the constant demands that try to devour your quiet time. Let others know that these periods are important to you, not because you don't value their company, but because you've learned to value your own. I once met a scholar who was constantly surrounded by others, students seeking guidance, colleagues wanting discussion, friends needing conversation. His days overflowed with voices and opinions, yet his own wisdom never seemed to grow deeper. He felt busy but not fulfilled, occupied but not purposeful. Only when he began to retreat each morning into solitude did transformation begin. In those quiet hours before the world woke up, he began to write with clarity, create with passion, and flourish in ways that surprised even himself. His greatest discoveries came not in crowds, but in the sacred silence of his own company. 8. Discipline starts with saying no. The common belief is that discipline is about doing more, taking on more tasks, filling more